John?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. I'm your host, JP John Paz. With me today, very special guest, former two-time WWE World Tag Team Champion, former WWF Light Heavyweight Champion. He's, of course, Scotty Too Hotty, Scott Taylor, a.k.a. Scott Garland. Welcome to the two-man power trip. How you doing?
How you doing, John?
Yeah, doing pretty good. What's been going on in your world? I know you were very, very busy.
Yeah, it's been awesome, dude. It's been overwhelmingly busy, overwhelmingly good. Like, I had no idea it was going to be this good. I'd asked around, see what I thought I could do back in the independents and working for myself. It seemed like it was really hot out there, and I saw guys like, Matt Cardona and those guys, like, killing it after they left WWE, and they looked like they were having fun. And I've been pretty open. I'm 48 years old, so realistically, I know that I only have a few years left where I can go to the degree that I want to be able to go at. So I thought now is the time to do it. It's either now or never. So, dude, it's been crazy. I have a UK tour coming up in March, London, Wales, Scotland, back to England, and then finish up in Ireland. It's 12 days. I'm booked straight solid with at least one thing, sometimes two things a day, and I don't know if I worked that kind of schedule with WWE at any point. If I ever worked 12 days in a row, I'm sure I did, but this is a whole seminars between seminars, signings, and shows. It's crazy. So it's awesome. I'm having a blast.
Were you surprised at all, like with how many people were interested in booking you? Because I mean, you are busy.
I am, but I don't think I took into account the how much the coaching at the performance center part would play into the seminar bookings. I think so for a promoter to contact me and say, hey, I want to use you for a show, I give them a price. And then I go, and I'll also come in and do a seminar, 2 hours before doors open. It's kind of a no-brainer, and it's a win-win for both of us, and to be honest with you, like when seminars were just kind of coming around, I think when I went to WWE and I did a few, and I didn't really enjoy them because I never went to a wrestling school. I was kind of a backyard guy before there was a word for it. I say to people, it's kind of like the Hardys and me and my friends. We kind of learned on our own. We never had a proper training session, so it was kind of it was intimidating for me to go, and all of a sudden I'm coaching these athletes, and but I fell in love with the job and I loved coaching. So now it's fun to go back out, and man, dude, I tell you what, like a 2-hour seminar is a breeze and it flies by for me. And basically I just talk with these people, because they have a lot of questions, and sometimes I think we take things for granted that we think they know that they really don't know. And again, dude, I'm wide open, and the first thing I say in each seminar is like, I want to be here for you guys, and I want you guys to get the most out of your money. So ask away. I'm an open book, and I'll be honest with them. And I don't do so much of the in-ring training with them. Sometimes it's hard, especially like this. Some of the OVW seminar I did, we had like 40 people, and then I did one in San Antonio at the hybrid school last weekend, and there were about 25, 30 people there. So it's hard to do anything physical in one day. I'd love to go into one of these schools for a week and make more of a camp out of it. But in order to do a 2-hour seminar, it's basically a Q&A thing. And that's what I want it to be, an open conversation. So, dude, I'm having a blast. I really am. Like, this is the probably the most fun I've ever had in my career right now. Just, definitely not the most money I've ever made, but well, I mean, we'll see what it leads to, but as far as just having fun and relaxing and enjoying it, this is the time, John.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then
Yeah.
ISPW coming up February 18th. You got a seminar.
Yes.
So it's in
Yes.
Butler, New Jersey. All the information, ispwwrestling.com. But it's awesome because you get the seminar in Butler at St. Anthony's Church Gym, 3 to 5. And then you're the main event of the show that night, too, for
Yes.
ISPW.
Yeah, that's great. It's fun. I've been up that way a couple times so far since I started back January 1st, of course, with the GCW thing with Janela. And I've been back up in the New York, New Jersey area a couple times for signings and stuff. But this will be my first match over that way. We did the GCW thing in Atlantic City, but to go back up and, to wrestle Danny Doring with Maven involved and that's cool. Like, I know those guys, and it'd be fun. And that's I keep telling people, like, at this point in my career, if it's not fun, I don't want to be a part of it. There's more to life than money, and of course the money has to be there. But at the end of the day, if it's not fun, I have no desire to do it. Um, I never got in this for the money in the first place. The money came, over time, but
Right.
it took a long time for that money to come. Probably 10 years in before I was really making money. To
Right.
once even when I signed with WWF in '97, I wasn't there. There was no such thing as a guaranteed contract at that time. So I was still on that old school $150 a day, guaranteed of 14 days over the next 2-year contract, which everybody had at that point. Up until Mark Merrill came along, I think there was no such thing as a guaranteed deal, and then,
Yep.
and then they started to ease their way in and everybody had them. But even after that, I wasn't making big money until like 99, 2000 with Too Cool Rikishi stuff, so, and that was fun, but that's on a big level with a lot of days on the road and a lot of stress and a lot of doing what you're being told to do. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but like now I'm my own boss. I do my own marketing. I put together my own social media videos. I do all the own editing on all my stuff, and I'm my own promoter. And if I want to work this weekend, I work. If I don't, I don't. And if there's a promoter I don't necessarily like or like what he puts out there, I don't need to go work for him. And if there is, hey, I'll go in for free. You know what I mean? Like, it's all
Yep.
about having fun and quality of life at this point,
It's got to be pretty satisfying for you, though. I mean, you can kind of do
Dude,
whatever you want, make your own hours,
it's awesome, man. I mean, I had one show in, there were two originally. It was Big Time, had two shows up in the Carolinas a couple weeks ago, and they ended up canceling one on Friday night because of a snowstorm. But this was the show with FTR and Rock and Roll Express,
Oh,
I
yeah.
was on there. And it's about 9 hours from here. We were in Spartanburg, South Carolina. So I took my daughter, my daughter's 20 years old. We made a week-long road trip of it. We stayed in Savannah a couple of nights and then drove over to Greenville, stayed in Greenville a night, then drove to Asheville, and then, slowly made our way around the Carolinas and Georgia and made our way home. So had this awesome week out on the road with my daughter. And then, WrestleMania weekend, we're going to WrestleCon, and I bring my son on that trip with me. So it's awesome, especially to have the kids along at this point, because they were little when I was with WWE and they didn't really get to be a part of it, and they've been a part of the coaching part over the last, 6 years at the PC and the NXT thing. But this is a whole different thing for them to see their dad go out there and wrestle and do his thing, I think, so it's fun, man.
That's awesome, too, because you wouldn't be able to take a week-long trip probably if you work for WWE, you know what I mean? Not be able to
Right.
do that.
Right. And that's what I do. I love to travel so much, like even with like that UK thing coming up, I booked my flight 2 days ago. I was leaving March 2nd through the 16th, flying back from Dublin on the 16th. And I realized the day after I booked it, St. Patrick's Day is the next day. Like, I'm an idiot if I don't stay and do
Yeah.
St. Patrick's Day in Ireland, So I changed, I called the airlines yesterday. It was $200 to change my flight to come home on Friday. But I'm like, you know what a cool life experience to be in Ireland. And they haven't had St. Patrick's Day this is going to be the first time in 3 years because of COVID.
Right.
So, dude, I'm going to get a room, and I'm not even a drinker, but I just want to be there and, be a part of it and just do some people watching and watch the mess happen, like stay right downtown in Dublin. Like, what a cool thing to be able to do. And that's not something that you can do with the bigger companies because you're on the road. It's, especially those European tours with like a WWE, it's, Paris one day, London the next day, Dublin, Belfast. And it's like, you don't know if you're in Peoria or Belfast by the end of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just a big blur. I've been places that I don't even realize that I've been when sometimes I see stuff, and I know I've been to Italy, but I couldn't tell you for sure what cities I was in,
Wow.
But
yeah, too much going on sometimes.
Yeah.
So your decision to leave the Performance Center, was that all you, though? You just wanted to leave, or was there like a shakeup involved? Because after you left, it was like a Steel is gone, Carino's sister's gone, Regal's gone, Joe's gone. Like, it seemed like a huge shakeup after you left.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of changes. Some were on I keep saying some were on them, some were on me, and some of it was a combination of the two. And I wasn't having fun anymore, and I was like, okay, I can go to work and collect a paycheck every day, like the majority of us do, and I swore I would never do. And or I can move on and go do something else, somewhere else on my own, and I asked, I talked to Cardona quite a bit, and got ideas on what I thought I could make, and got his advice and stuff, and it was, I keep saying, I left plan A without a real solid plan B, and which was kind of crazy. It was a gamble, but it's a gamble that's paying off for me, and I love it, and it was just it wasn't trying to it was just time to move on. I keep saying it. I'm so thankful for my time there. It just wasn't. It wasn't. They weren't. NXT wasn't doing live events. They were wanting to go a certain direction as far as training and some new rules and dude, I'm the pro wrestling guy. From Georgie Animal Seal with a green tongue eating turnbuckles, and Kamala, who they went and took out of the jungle and trained how to wrestle and painted a moon on his stomach. And dude, it's sometimes it's so hokey, it's over the top, but that's what makes it so fun. Like it's the worm was hokey, but it was fun. Kiss is hokey, but they're 72 years old, still selling out arenas. Like putting on face paint and spitting blood and fire and flying through the air. But that's, I think, especially in these times right now, where everything is so serious and everybody's under the gun and under pressure on, social media and with COVID and just the way of the world right now. Like people need fun. So I just want to get out there and have some fun and try not to take everything so serious. So it's funny. I saw a tweet that somebody put out for my seminar next weekend, and after the day after I do the Jersey show for Tommy Fierro, I fly to Atlanta and drive to Alabama to do another seminar and show there. And the tweet was something about, Scotty to Hotty seminar, serious wrestlers only. And I understand what they meant by that, but I wanted to write, no, I don't want just serious wrestlers. I want Kamala and George Animal Steel and Dunk the Clown, to me, like wrestling, it's supposed to be fun, and I always go to The Undertaker because he's perceived as one of the most respected and serious, wrestlers of our time, right? Like he's a dead guy that wears eyeliner. Right. So it's like, it's still way out there. Right. But it's so fun, man. And I would say, don't confuse fun and funny. I was more of a funny and a kind of a comedic character. That doesn't mean fun doesn't always necessarily mean funny. You can be fun, and it's what it should be. Like I always say, like even in my seminars, like these people that pay, their money to come watch you wrestle on a Saturday night, they didn't have to come. So, they could have gone to a comedy show or a movie or a concert. They're just looking to get out of their house, forget about their bills for 2 hours and have some fun. Yep. So don't try to make this so serious. And, like even in your match, like you have to spoon feed your story to them. They don't want to have to think about it. If you're the bad guy, tell them that you're the bad guy as soon as you walk through that curtain. If you're the good guy, you tell them that you're the good guy. All it takes is a look or a glance or a way you walk or, that little high five to that little kid when you first come through the curtain, or, that stare as a bad guy. Like it's good guy, bad guy. Like I had a kid last weekend in my seminar in San Antonio said, what about, because I was talking about like, you want to get a reaction. And I was kind of giving them that speech. Like as soon as you walk through that curtain, you need to tell them. Everybody's on board with what we do at this point. They're looking for cues from us, right? So like, tell them, give them those cues as soon. And the kid says, "What if you're a tweener?" And I'm like, "What the hell's a tweener?" Like, so to me, tweener is like another word for boring. You know what I mean? Like I get what they mean by that, but why are we overcomplicating it? They want good versus bad, and there's no such thing as a tweener. Like pick one way and go with it. Like stop making it so complicated on yourself. Especially if you're just starting out. Like it's different. Like and I get the term tweener when you're talking about like a Samoa Joe. I can remember like Samoa Joe versus Finn Balor, and they were kind of both on the line, or maybe Joe was kind of on the line where you could put him against a Finn, he'd be and then Joe would be the bad guy, but you put him against a bad guy, and then he'd be more of the good guy. So I get where the term comes from, but you're talking about guys who have time invested in them. They didn't start out that way. If you're just starting out doing this, man, like, why are you making it so hard on yourself? Just go out there and spoon feed your story to them, man. Give them 2 hours of fun,
That was like Sting and Luger back in the day in WCW. Luger was a tweener, but every time Sting would turn his back, he would cheat. So you knew he was really a heel. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you could look at Luger. Even when he was a good guy, he was a heel, right? Like, there was something about him,
Yep. That smug look. Yeah.
Yeah.
But with you, when you go to these seminars and you do the training and stuff, and you're explaining to them, is a lot of the questions like WWE centric, or is it like worm centric? Like, is it a lot of not wrestling stuff, but almost like sports entertainment? What can I do with my character stuff?
Yeah, more character stuff, I think, and that's what I tell them. I was most of these kids, that are at these wrestling schools, and I say kids, some of them are in their 20s or whatever, but they have a pretty good technical guy teaching them during the week, but they don't have the sports entertainment or the psychology guy and that's kind of what I did at the Performance Center was, they would come to me once they had the basics, and Brookside and Smiley had them for a while, and they'd move over to me, and sometimes you just got to learn where to put those pauses in more than you need to learn how to do more moves, So yeah, that's kind of and that's what I tell them at the seminars. I'm not going to teach you guys. Most of you guys can wrestle better than I can, way back when I was first starting out, I wanted to be that great technical wrestler. But as time went on, of course, I became this character, and it was more of a sports entertainment type character, and I embraced that. I had so much fun with it, and then once I started doing that and saw, the crowd reactions, and and then the money going up, and people getting behind me, and going into places like New York or Philly, or where they used to boo me when I was a good guy. All of a sudden I'm this over the top good guy doing this hokey move, but they love it, dude. To get over in a New York City, Madison Square Garden, if you look at that Royal Rumble video, when they're and that was. It's funny. I was just talking to somebody about it the other day. You don't stop and think about it, but it was pretty much they put Rikishi with us in December of '99, and then that Royal Rumble was a month later.
Yep.
So that thing took off fast. We felt it the first night they put him with us, and it was just like, you have something when you can feel it. And that's a hard thing to teach these guys, is how to feel something, because they don't know what they're trying to feel. They're getting there's so much to what we do that people don't realize how much goes into what we do, right? That it's sometimes hard to teach that until they actually feel it themselves. And I think that's one of the things that's lacking today is an experienced guy or girl working with a less experienced, because that's such a vital part of it, is for that less experienced person to work with a veteran who can slow them down and say, no, like we can do that, but let's put it here, or let's wait for that crowd. Don't there's no rush. You can let the crowd think that they're working you, but you're really working them. There's nothing wrong. That's what you should be trying to do. Let them think they're in control, but you're really in control.
And I was at Royal Rumble 2000. I remember that. I was like, wow, Scotty, Brian Christopher, and Grandmaster, really, and Rikishi. I was like, wow, they're over like Rover. I mean, almost like Rock level. It was.
It was almost overnight, right?
Yeah.
Once we got the characters, it was almost overnight. But at that point, I had been there. I signed in February. I started as an extra in '91. Signed for the light heavyweight division in February of '97, and that wasn't until January of 2000. So it wasn't, it seems like it was quick, but it was a couple years. And it was a scary couple years, because I saw guys come in after me who were getting the machine behind them, and I was sitting at home. Hardy's came in after me, Edge and Christian came after me, Val Venus came after me, but they all got the machine behind them before I did. So it was a little scary at times, but once it happened, it was awesome,
and then you guys transitioned. You guys were Too Much, you and Brian Christopher, which was a funny, great heel tag team, and then Too Cool, which is like the complete opposite of Too Much.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Like they were, if you look at there were a lot of similarities. Really, like we're still kind of doing the same stuff. We're kind of doing the goofy dancing. I actually started the Worm when we were Too Much, and I would just do it like on entrances, or I would do it on live events in the middle of the match, But once we started the Too Cool thing with the dancing stuff, I was like, oh, this Worm thing, it fits perfect for this character, So we incorporated little pieces that we were already doing, and put it into Too Cool. But what a great time, man! So much fun.
Do you remember why they put you guys together in the first place? Was
There
there
was
something?
I don't think there was a rhyme or reason to it. I was sitting home for months when I got the phone call to go to WrestleMania 14 in Boston, and they just threw Brian and I in that tag team battle royal. And I was a babyface, he was a heel, and so it was kind of crazy. And it was it worked for whatever reason. It worked, Once we became Too Cool, it worked. I think there was always a weird part of me that felt like I was biting on his character because he was too sexy, and then I became too hot. In all honesty, I can't even talk. Um, I was Scott Too Hot Taylor on the Independents for a little bit back a couple years before we ever started that. So I pitched the idea to Vince McMahon at WrestleMania 14, and then we became Too Much like the next week. So it was just right place, right time, and stars aligned, and what a cool ride.
Back when you can actually talk to Vince, right, and pitch him ideas, doesn't seem like you do that anymore.
Honestly, dude, like I didn't really, I didn't. Sorry, man. I didn't have
No
a lot.
problem.
I didn't have a lot of conversations with him over the years. Not really, but yeah, I guess more than now from what I hear. I wasn't around a lot in my time at NXT, to be honest with you. So it was that whole when I was at NXT, it was Hunter's deal, and Vince didn't really come around. And I saw him a couple times that they would send us to different shows here and there, but I'd never had too much conversation with him. Even over the years, is when I was there wasn't a whole lot. He's a very intimidating guy to talk to. I think especially when you grow up a fan of this, like I did. From 10 years old on, dude. It was just to think back and. Dude, like WrestleMania 3, him standing in the ring when it opens with 93,000 people out there and just welcome to WrestleMania. Like, dude, like he's if it wasn't for him, it wasn't like there was none of this, right? So it's just that's why I think I struggle so much now with seeing what's going on, and like this is not what I grew up a fan of, and that's not a knock on them. It's just like I was a fan, dude. I was a fan up until I used to leave Raw and go, we would stop at an Applebee's and watch Nitro, watch a replay of Nitro. Like I've been a fan my whole life, and so now it's tough sometimes. I want to see it do well, and I want to see new characters, and I want it to be fun, and I want the fans to have fun and be what it was. Maybe I'm just getting old and bitter and grizzled. I don't know, but I watch Monday night, and it's just like there's something that's just. Part of it's maybe there's just too much wrestling on TV these days. Pretty much every night of the week, right? And if it's not AEW or WWE or NXT or AEW Dark, it's you can catch a independent show on Fight TV or it's just so much now. Whereas when you and I were kids, it was 1 hour on Saturday morning, and it was like you didn't see Hogan wrestle.
No.
You had a Saturday night's main event came around, dude. I still remember that feeling and trying to stay awake till 11:30 at night to watch Saturday night's main event, and hearing that music and like, oh my God, like I knew this match was happening, but they would, start flashing the pictures of, the Rockers and the Orient Express, and like, oh my God, TV Guide didn't tell me we were going to see this match. You know what I mean? Like, so it's that's what I want, and that's what I remember, and that's what I'm a fan of. So it's. I struggle now even with independent stuff, and I've been talking to a lot of people like this. Like, I wish we could all get on board as independent wrestlers and make it better than it is. I just feel like we can do better than it is. Like, let's scrap that pre-show meet and greet. Like, why are we putting these guys? I hate going out there and being seen before my match. You know, doors open, you're sitting out there selling your merchandise, and they walk in and they see you sitting there, and you know, it feels like a flea market. And you know, and then I've even had promoters asking me like, "Hey, will you do a cell phone video for me to promote the show?" And I'm like, I say no, and I feel like I hope this isn't going to turn against me. And I'm not doing it because I'm a big star. I'm doing it to protect any star power that I have, because you can't tell me that a cell phone video of me sitting on my couch cutting a wrestling promo is going to help you sell tickets. You're better, you know, make a professional looking poster where I look like a star on the poster, and I will tweet that stuff out 3 times a week for you, you know,
Right.
and I will promote that. And that's why I've been trying to be smart with my own social media, and I'm doing my own videos. I do my own editing and try to put little things together to promote my upcoming stuff. I just think we can do better overall as a business. I just think that independent wrestling has been run a certain way for so long. It's just become the norm, and nobody questions it. You know, I'm not trying to be a jerk or be a big star about it. It's just like, let's be better. Let's present this as a professional thing. Like what comedian or band, no matter what level they are. I mean, and I'm here in Orlando where we have the Hard Rock and House of Blues and, you know, some smaller venues. I don't ever see a video of a comedian sitting in his house saying, "Hey, I'm coming to Orlando, House of Blues, come check me out." And, you know, like, it's not how it's done any other way. It's just how it's done in wrestling, in independent wrestling, you know. And I just feel like it can be so much better. Like, let's do a 90-minute show. Let's do 6 matches. Give them, they're paying $15-20 a ticket. Let's give them 6 matches, a 90-minute show, no intermission, and then we send everybody out. We'll put the heels on one side of the building, baby faces on the other side. We'll have tables set up for them. We'll have somebody to take their money for them so they don't look like carny flea market guys. And let's present them all as stars, because you know what? It could be me on the show with some kid who's having a second match, but that kid having a second match might blow me out of the water in the ring. But if they see us before the show and they're seeing me for the first time and they're seeing him for the first time, he's going to look as like an equal to me, even though I've had 30 years of TV experience, right? But he'll look like a star then. So you let him perform first, then send him out to do the meet and greet, right? Like, even bands, you know, you go to see a Kiss or whatever band it is, they're doing their meet and greets after the show, most of them, you know. Most of them, not always, but you're not going to see them in a mass setting before the show, sitting there, right? So I don't know. Again, maybe I'm just getting old, but I just feel like it could be done in a better way, you know. And I'm not. I don't think I'm out of place on that, you know. It makes me want to run my own stuff, honestly.
Yeah, there you go.
But I just feel there's a better way.
I have a promoter buddy of mine promoted a little bit down south, and he didn't let the guys go out because he said it's like kills the pop of the show when they first come out. It like kills the momentum of the guy. Like, oh, we saw him already.
It does. I honestly, so I give promoters an option. I'll go, here's my price to work the main event, or here's my price to work the first half of the show. And if they can put me on the first half of the show, it's less, but I won't go out at the beginning of the show. I'll wrestle in the first half of the show so that when I come through that curtain, they're seeing me for the very first time. And then I can go during intermission and do my stuff. Now I feel like I'm presented more of as a star rather than that flea market carny guy I was talking about. I just think if we all stuck together and changed it together, we could do it. But the problem is you have one guy who goes, no, I'm going to go out there at the beginning of the show. And then everybody else feels like, oh, he's going to go out and take all the money. And then so that next guy has to go out there, and it just turns into what we're used to, you know? So, but we'll see what happens, you know?
Yep. So I just want to know, like, the worm, though. Where the heck did that come from? Where did the idea come from? Like, how did you create that thing? It's just so random, but awesome.
Well, it was, like I said, I started just doing it, kind of messing around when we were doing the too much stuff, you know, and I would just do it to pop the guys and entertain the guys and in the match. Like, you know, I can remember like Bradshaw and Farouk and be like, do the worm, you know, and just do it to make them laugh or whatever. And on house shows and live events. And then, when we started the Too Cool thing, I added it in, and I was just, I would lay the guy out by the ropes, and I would hit the ropes on the other side and stop and just worm across and drop a headbutt or an elbow or whatever. And I hadn't really fine-tuned it yet, but it was like I could tell I had something special with the reaction that I was getting just from doing the worm, And then one night on Raw, I hopped, I laid the guy out and I hopped to the other side, and Jerry Lawler said WORM as I was hopping. And I asked him if he would keep doing that. And then, like a month later, the crowd was chanting along and doing it. And, and then the who came in a little bit later. And so it wasn't just something I sat down and wrote out and thought, oh, this is going to be great and this is going to work. It's kind of like Austin 316. It's not something he thought out. He just said it, and the next day there were Austin 316 signs in the crowd, So, and that's why I encourage these people at these seminars to just throw stuff against the wall, because you don't know what's going to work in this. It's probably not going to be an arm drag or a suplex or we know it's not going to be a destroyer because everybody's doing these Canadian destroyers now, right? Like it's like, what is it going to be? It's probably not going to be a move. Moves are just moves, like moves are like, they're fun to watch, but so we're watching people fall off skateboards, like you have to have that, and this is something that you learn over time, and it took me a long time, that you have to have that emotional attachment to that audience. Once you have that, you can, that's when you really start to take off, and you really start to, be a money guy, I think, and you start to make that money and sell that merchandise. And the moves are moves. And there was a time when I was taking private gymnastics lessons just to learn how to do like moonsaults, because I thought I had to do that and it was going to get me over. And I always joke, like, I get a better reaction doing the moonwalk than I do doing a moonsault now, but I have that connection, and if you can make the audience feel something, whether it's wrestling or comedy or a concert, like if you can make them feel something, that's the trick to this. Make them feel what you're feeling. Make them feel something. But it's the moves are just moves. And I know I sound like an old guy saying that, but I wasn't an old guy. I was the youngest guy that I know of doing this stuff at one point, and I was told all the stuff that the old guys said back then. Slow down, save your body, and and here I am, 48 years old, and going, hey, they were right. They weren't just trying to hold me back. They did know what they were talking about. So and I want everybody to do well. I want to see people get, like I said, I want to see people get over, and I want that next Rock. I want that next Austin. I want to sit home and watch it and have fun. I still want to be a fan, and as long as it's just moves, it's like, yeah, the moves are cool, but there's got to be something. It's characters and storylines that make this stuff so awesome,
If you think about it, Hogan did a point, right? He's pointed the guy.
That's it.
Eruption. Austin gave the middle finger.
Yep.
Eruption. He's not doing any moves. And it's better than when some guy does a Canadian destroyer through a table. You know what I mean? Which gets like a, you know what I mean? Like a clap.
Yep. And I understand, dude, like, don't get me wrong, I understand the attraction to all of it. Like, I mean, even the GCW stuff with the light bulbs, and I want to watch that for a second. Like, oh, wow, like that's entertaining, but it's not. To me, it's like you can't go out and do that for very long, and with your health wise, and all right, I gotta do this. Like, dude, I'm going to UK at 12 days in a row. Like, how am I going to get through 12 days in a row? How do you get through 12 days in a row if that's the style you work? I do. Like I said, I appreciate it. I like watching it, but you got to be careful because time flies in this stuff, man. I started as a 16-year-old kid. Here I am on the other end, and it went just like that, So, and neck surgery, back surgery, and I worked a pretty mild style, So I mean, it was the first part of my career, like before I signed with WWE, doing some stupid stuff, taking power drivers through tables from Perry Saturn and stuff like that, but I didn't do a whole lot of crazy stuff. Now these guys out there diving off balconies and it's fun to watch. And I understand, like, there is a rush behind it, and like you get a reaction and you build a bit of a name from it, but you just got to be careful of that going down that road.
Yeah, I think it's a lot safer, especially if you're having a long tour, like you said. You do your style, you get your stuff in, but the crowd is still into it. I mean, they're still
Right.
loving the worm and everything else.
Right. And dude, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I know what this whole run for me right now is. Like, I had to go out there with Janela, and I felt like I had to prove something to that specific crowd. And it was my first match back in 6 years. I had to prove something to myself as well. Like, I didn't want to be that guy, who had a decent run and he's out there just collecting a paycheck and phoning it in. I don't want to be
Yep.
that guy. I want to contribute, and I want to make them go, wow, like, man, he can still go. Like, he's not just phoning it in. And like I said, like, make them feel something special. I think there's a bit of a movement going on right now in wrestling, and I can't exactly put my finger on it, but it's like, you see guys like Cardona out there who are building their own brand, and EC3 and Adam too. Those guys left. They don't have a big money machine behind them. They're doing all this stuff themselves, and they're staying relevant in the wrestling industry. And like, what are they going to do? Where's EC3 going? Where's Adam going? Where's Zach or Matt gonna show up next week? It's like, but that's all on them, and that's all their own being the self promoter stuff. And that's what I've tried to do with my videos. Is like, try to make it cool, try to make it fun, and just keep my name out there. And it's like I said, I don't know exactly what it is, but you can make a decent living doing this now without having one of those big companies behind you. And for a person like starting out, it's going to be a little bit more work because you have to start from the ground level and scratch and build it up. But if you're not using your social media or YouTube and stuff to create this character that you want to be, you can be whatever you want. You have the ability to edit it or pay somebody to edit it, and have somebody work with you to tell your story and create something for yourself. So if you can't just sit there and tweet stuff out. You got to put some time in it, and if you're not, you're missing out. It's such a cool time to be able to do that. I think we didn't we had VHSs back when I started out,
Yeah.
and you had to send those out by mail to try to get looked at. Now you can bank so like it takes me maybe a whole day to create a 1 minute video to throw up on Instagram. I just put one out for my UK and Ireland tour, and it took me a whole day just to edit that 1 minute down and try to make me look as best as I can and put a cool vibe behind it, and put some cool music behind it, and make it look like a real deal thing, which it is. Like, I mean, dude, going all over, the UK in 12 days. So it's a pretty special thing, and I want it to feel special. I don't want to, and I don't mean this as a knock on anybody, but if you put me on a poster with your local guys who are there every month, that hey, that dude, he works at Subway, but I like watching him wrestle. And you take a guy who's been doing this for 32 years and had a good run with WWE, and you put him on that same poster, and they're the same size, and like there's 12 of those guys or 14 of those guys just thrown on a poster, and you're walking down the street and you look at that and you go, there's nothing special there. It's just a bunch of guys who look like wrestlers, Right. So it's so much of this is marketing, and I don't mean to come across like a big star. Like, it's work, and we're all just normal people, right? But you have to try to portray yourself and as a star, and I feel like that's something that's kind of not really embraced, I guess, like.
Yeah, it feels like this day and age, there's a lot less stars, quote unquote. Like when I'm watching Hogan, Savage, Piper, all these guys, Warrior. I mean, they're larger than life. Andre, larger than life.
Crazy.
Even Austin, Rock. Nowadays, it's like Reigns, Lesnar, and then maybe Lashley, and like that's it. Nobody else is larger
and then
than
everybody
life.
else, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And that's might be back again to like 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown. 4 hours a week of AEW, and then plus their dark stuff, and another 2 hours of NXT. So it's just so much, and where nobody really feels special, I guess, right? So it's like just trying to like make yourself feel special in this, and try to sell yourself. We're all salesmen, and just trying to sell yourself as whatever you want to be. And I'm not, and that's something that I've struggled with, John, is like, how do I present myself at this point in my career? You know, do people want to see the guy that they remember from 2000 with the hair sticking up through the hat, or is that passed by? And would they rather see what that guy would look like 20 years later? You know, and I think there's definitely something to certain situations where you go, okay, we'll give them the nostalgic 2000 guy that they want, maybe at a con or whatever, right? But I think there's more. It'd be more appreciated to go, wow, he's like trying to do something new, and he's 48 years old now, and he's like, he looks great, and he can still go, and he's been doing this since he was 16 years old, and he was self-taught, and there's just such a cool story there. Like, why wouldn't I embrace that? Like, yeah, and so all of that stuff plays into who I am now, but I don't want to just live off from that, you know. So it all falls into that marketing thing, I think, which I think about it all the time. Go, man, should I go back to school for marketing because I enjoy it so much? And and even like the social doing the videos, like I said, man, maybe there's something for the next half of my life where I could fall in and do that outside of wrestling or whatever, So it's all fun,
Do you think that maybe WWE now is too cookie cutter? Like they're trying to make everybody the same. They're all, like you were in the Performance Center, obviously at NXT. It's almost like the guys aren't being who they are. Like what you just said just there is a perfect example. Like, should I do this? Should I do that? It seems like WWE is very like, this is the way.
Yeah, I don't know. So I don't know if that's WWE or if it's people are afraid to try anything, especially now, dude, like what, 200 people released in the last couple of years? Like, that's insane. Like, and I understand that, like, dude, that's walking on eggshells. You know what I mean? Like it's scary, and it was scary for me. And I thought every time those cuts come, I'm waiting for that phone to ring with that 203 number to let me go. And, maybe that was part of me going, okay, it's time to go before that happens, because in 2007, when I was released as a wrestler, like I was ready to be done at that point, and I stayed. And I always wished that I had walked away on my own. So I go, this is the time to go. I feel like it could be coming anytime, So why don't I just do it on my own? And I think I'm more valuable if I walk away on my own and outside of WWE, because if you're part of a cut of 6 to a dozen people, you're just a lump sum cut. Like, you might be a blur for a second, but if I can go in and walk away on my own, like, that's pretty ballsy, and it's pretty it's more marketing, right? Like, and I put my thing out on social media when I left, my little statement, and I stopped. I had left the Performance Center and asked for my release, and they granted it to me. And as I'm driving home, I think I need to put this out there that I asked for my release before they put it out there, because again, I'm more valuable if I look like I walked away on my own than if they go, we fired him, basically, because everybody knows what the deal is. If they go, we've released them, that means you got fired. You know what I mean? Right. So it's released as a prettier word, right? So so I decided that's what I need. I pulled over it's funny, I'm at a Panera now, but I pulled over to a Panera and in the parking lot, typed that thing up real quick, sent it to my girlfriend, go, how's this sound? And then boom, sent it out there, and honestly, man, like the response was like overwhelming from everybody throughout the company and from outside of that company, and just like it was really, it made me feel like I did the right thing, So
controlling the narrative.
Yeah, that's it, right? That's it. And like maybe I would still be there, but I would still feel the same way. I think like, okay, when's that cut coming? Because it's the way things are there right now, man. It's just like I don't think anybody feels safe. So back to what you asked though, like I think maybe people are just afraid to try anything outside of the box, and I know, dude, he's looking for superstars. There's no doubt. I've heard him say it. He's looking for stars. Like, that's what he wants, and that's why he wants to hire these athletes that look like stars. And that's what I tell these kids in these seminars, man. Like, I walk in there and like, dude, like some of them don't even look like they've ever seen the inside of a gym. Like, so like, that's fine if you just want this to be a hobby. But if you're going, how do I get to WWE? You got to go, okay, I got to be realistic about this. Like, do I see anybody there that looks like Joe Schmo and looks like he's never seen the inside of a gym? Like, he doesn't care if you can do moonsaults or flips or 360s and all that stuff. Like, he wants stars, you know, and I really think, you know, he said that. And I think that's what it is that he's looking for. You know, it's just, I think it's a little bit of both. There's so much stress there right now, and everybody's afraid. And it's hard to be creative when you're walking on eggshells all the time.
Yeah.
You know, even from a producer standpoint, dude, I was like, I'd be going, like, second guessing myself on stuff, that ideas or talent would pitch stuff to me. And I go, oh, I don't know. I love it, but I don't know if they'll love it. And, you know, so once you start doing that, it gets sticky, right? Like,
Big time.
Yeah.
And even Triple H isn't around anymore, right? He's not around in NXT anymore. Shane McMahon, Vince's son is gone. You know what I mean? So, I mean, like, anything could happen. It's just nuts over there.
It's a crazy time right now. It's like a time we've never seen before. Like this, and to be honest, like when I went back to as a coach in 2016, it felt like a totally different company that I left in 2007. You know, because when you're on the main roster, it's like, you know, you're renting your own cars, buying your own food, you're paying for your own hotels. Like, the only thing you really get is flights. And I go back to NXT in 2016, you know, we get on a bus flight in Orlando, we fly to wherever, we get off the bus, we get off the plane, there's a bus waiting for us. The bus takes us to a hotel or a restaurant, food's paid for, you know, or there's food waiting at the hotel. We chill till 4:45, we get back on the bus, we go to the venue, we do the show. There's catering at the venue. Get back on the bus at the end of the show, there's food on the bus. You know, go back to the hotel. Like this wasn't the company that I left in 2007, you know. So I'm going, wow, this is awesome. And there was a different vibe there. Like I keep saying, like, that "We Are NXT" wasn't just a marketing slogan; it was a real deal thing. Like that, the people involved felt that, like, this is our thing. Like this is, and you know, I think a lot of that came from Hunter. Like, you know, it was just a different type of leadership, and there was positive reinforcement there, and rather than, like, you know, ruling with a, you know, fear, you know. And it was just, I remember being on a show in Orlando at the arena. We did a TV, and, you know, Hunter bringing Bailey or Sasha, one of those ladies up at the time, and like giving them a hug in front of everybody and telling them how great they did. And I was like, what the hell is this? Like, this is not what I left. Like, you know what I mean? Like he was a proud father, like, and it was his baby, and he, you know, he created it. And like, I don't, you know, he went away, and, you know, I know Sean's working his ass off, and he's trying to make it all work. And, but again, there's all that pressure there to make it work now without Hunter. And it's something totally different than what it was. And, you know, and then I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just, it's what it's become. And it was sad. Honestly, it was sad. I keep saying it was like a death almost when it all went away, because the people that were involved in the black and gold, and was like, it was a pride thing. And it was a very cool thing to be a part of. And I'm so thankful for it. It's not what it was, you know. And maybe this whole thing will open some doors for some new people, and maybe it will create some stars. It's kind of a sink or swim now. Like, hey, you're going out there on live TV and you're having your first match, and you've got to get over. You know, we're not going to spend 6 years on trying to hone this character and figure out who you are. You're going to go out there and you're going to do it now. And maybe that is a better way. I don't know. We'll see. I guess only time will tell, you know. But I was like, that 6 years with the black and gold of NXT was one of the best parts of my career.
Are you a Triple H guy?
I am I don't know if I love him, and I'm like so thankful to work underneath him. I don't know if I would say, like, we kind of started out together, you know, in the Northeast. He was a Kowalski guy, and I was a Maine. I grew up in Maine, and I went to Memphis to work for Lawler and Jarrett in '93, and then I came home, and I was back on I was doing an independent show in New Bedford, Massachusetts, and he showed up. This is before he went to WCW as Terrorizing, and I remember having a conversation with him, and he was asking me if he should go to Memphis. You know, so we've always kind of known each other. Then of course we worked together for years and always cool. I mean, we went to ACDC together. Me, my ex-wife, my kid's mom, China, and Hunter went to. And it's super name dropping, I know, but it's kind of a cool story. And I tell this in my seminars. But I don't say who I was with. But um, Hunter had just done Saturday Night Live. You remember all the guys were on Saturday Night
Yep.
Live?
Yep.
He had just done Saturday Night Live a couple weeks before we went to see ACDC. We did Raw and SmackDown in Phoenix, and then ACDC was going to be in the same building on Wednesday night. So we stayed, and we went. The four of us went to the show, and because he had just met those guys, we met them before the show, and they all kind of came in separately. But Brian Johnson, the lead singer from ACDC, came in. And I can remember him saying, and I just had this conversation with Hunter within the last year. I go, do you remember what Brian Johnson said to us that night? And he said, no. And I said, he goes, what you guys do is the same thing that we do. You come out, you bring them up, you bring them down, you bring them back up, and you send them home happy. And I was like, that's it. That's what we do. Like, that's it, right? Like, how does this guy, never been in a ring in his life, he's just a spectator and he's watching what we do. And he realizes like they do the same exact thing, right? So I use that in my seminars. It's like, it's that simple. Like we try to overcomplicate this and, weave this in and then, do this move and like, oh, he's going to think about it. Like, no, just make him happy. Like, make him happy, kick the show off on a high note, bring it, or even a match structure, same way. Like bring him up high, bring him down. You're in the heat, right? Make your comeback, get to your finish. Like, but I don't think I would say I was a Triple H guy. Like, we always got along, but I mean, maybe I was. Like, it was so cool to work underneath him, and like he was a Kiss fan, and he was a rock and roll guy, and like he brought all of that into NXT, and I think it was something fresh and new, and
You're back.
hey, dude, sorry.
Yeah. You were saying about fresh and new about NXT and Kiss and ACDC.
Yeah,
I got the big
yeah.
poster behind me. I love
Yeah,
ACDC.
right. So yeah, I think he brought all of that in, and it was just a little bit more updated, and it was a rock and roll show. I think that last Halloween Havoc that we had underneath him was like one of the best shows, and it was just so cool. It was like something different in every match, and it felt like a rock show, and even our NXT live events, felt so special. And like I was the main NXT road producer, so it would always be me and somebody else, one of the other producers or coaches out on the road, because we'd have the Florida shows, and then we'd have the traveling road shows. I was always one of the two road producers, and we'd find different ways to make each night feel special and try to do something cool, like to close the show. Like I can remember, we used to do this thing where with Undisputed Era, where we would have Undisputed Era layout, whoever the babyface was at the end of the night, and they would go to leave, and as they get to the curtain, War Raiders would step through the curtain. So they would walk back down the aisle. They'd go to jump over the barricade. Aleister Black's music would hit. He'd come out through one of the side doors of the arena. So they'd run to the other side of the ring, and they'd jump over the barricade, and they'd try to go out another side door. And here comes Ricochet through that door, and till finally they're in the ring, and the fallen babyface is up, and and maybe they would go to escape and back down through the curtain, and Roddy might get away, but he'd escape for 5 seconds, and Keith Lee would walk back out through with him up over his shoulder. Like cool stuff like that like they don't expect to see, and a unique group of guys together, and ending on a high note. So we just have fun doing stuff like that, and I miss, like I said, the road shows are gone, that the live events are gone, and that's really my wheelhouse. TV's fun to produce, but it's stressful, and it's you have one shot to do something perfect, and it doesn't always work. Whereas you can go out on a live event and if you don't hit it out of the park tonight, we can tweak it and we'll do it again tomorrow night and make it better. So it's that art that I enjoy, that art part of it that I enjoy. So
Brian Johnson, wow, he's a genius. I love him.
who knew,
So
right?
smart.
Like
Yeah,
he's
wow.
yeah. Who knew?
He nailed it. As we head forward towards the finish, head towards the wind down. Got to ask you this: I've been to Disney 20, I think 21 times, something like that. I've been to Disney a
Awesome.
lot. My buddy lives in Orlando, so anytime, and he used to get me in because his brother used to work at the park, and then his nephew. I just was able to get into Disney so many more times than I
Yeah,
probably should have. But
yeah,
what's your favorite like theme park just overall? Would it be a Disney park?
yeah, for sure. I think if I had to pick one, I'd go with Disneyland Paris. Just
Wow.
there's something about it. I don't know. Their Space Mountain's the best. Their Pirates is the best. They don't have Haunted Phantom Manor. It's a little bit different than the Haunted Mansion here, but their Main Street area to me is the best. It's just a very cool. It's more of I don't know, like what you would call it, like a little hipper. Like I don't know, people dress a little nicer. It's just they have like brick pavers on the main street, and then behind the shops on the main street, there are more hallways because of all the rain. They incorporated these hallways behind Main Street, so it has a different feel. I've been to Tokyo 3 times. The Tokyo Sea Park is awesome and it's amazing, and maybe it's like overhyped. Like it didn't live up to I can't say it didn't live up, but it was so overhyped that it was amazing, and the detail and everything in it's amazing. But for me, I always go to Paris. For some reason, I really like that park, and but then there's like Halloween Horror Nights is like my at Universal Studios here is
Yeah.
like mine and my son's thing that we do. So then I lean towards that. My daughter just started working at Universal, so she's in the Mardi Gras parade. She did Halloween Horror Nights this past year, so that's super cool to see. The kids getting involved in that and being a part of it. And really cool, man.
I remember one night Chucky, this is many years ago, scared the hell out of me because
At
they
Horror
had that.
Nights,
Yeah, you had that spinning thing, and you're drinking vodka and Sprite or whatever, and you're walking through, and you're like, doo, 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 and then the room spins, and all of a sudden they come out of the wall, but it looks like they're like
yeah,
the brick.
yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
oh Jesus Christ, they got me. Chucky got
yeah.
me. Yeah,
Yeah, that event gets bigger and bigger every year. Like it was huge this past year, and maybe as part of it was like they didn't have it last year, and then with the COVID and everything, and then people
yeah.
it was crazy this past year. So it just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
I've only been to obviously the Orlando one, but I love Walt Disney World and I love Universal Studios, but Hollywood Studios for some reason I love going to
Yeah,
Aerosmith,
that's
Tower
fun.
of Terror, Star Tours.
Yeah,
I just love that park. It's great.
yeah, it's fun, man. Like, and when you live here, you do it a little bit differently than when I used to come here on vacation when I lived in Maine. It was we do open to close, and we might go back and take a nap in the middle of the day and then go back and
Yeah.
close it out at night. But living here, it's kind of like, okay, we'll go down, we'll walk around a little bit, we'll get dinner, maybe do a ride, but just basically, people watch and do what old people do and just walk around. So it's a fun place to live.
Are you still doing that theme park? I knew you were doing like a little bit of a show. You still do that occasionally, the theme park show?
No, I did. I stopped doing it. I should start it back up. It's so saturated. That market is so saturated with so many different, well done, like YouTube shows, and
Yeah.
I mean, there's people that are there every day, and just they like was it last week or 2 weeks ago they had the Figment popcorn bucket go on sale in Epcot, and like every YouTuber and everybody's there, and it's like a 6 hour wait to get these Figment popcorn buckets. So it's like, I just don't have the want to do that.
Yep.
So it's but I started a YouTube channel up right when I left WWE, like just under the Scott Garland name, and I want to just be able to do, if I have like all these old VH tapes of my old matches and my travels now, because if anything's over a minute, I don't want to really put it up on Instagram. I asked my son who's 17, and he's like, because what do they call reels on Instagram, right? So if it's
Yeah.
longer than a minute, it becomes a reel, and he's like, if it's ever longer than a minute, it asks me if I want to continue watching. I never do, and I was like, I'm 48 and I feel the same way. So if there's anything longer than a minute, like I'll throw it up on the YouTube channel. And I don't want to spend a ton of time editing anything, but like say my travels to the UK, and I want to document it all with some video, and just throw some stuff up on there, and like, hey, this is what I'm doing. And maybe it won't even be wrestling related. You never know what it's. We have all these vehicles now to self promotion, so why not do it?
What would you say high point of the career? Would it be winning the tag titles, or what would you say is the high point of your career?
Man, just that whole year was a high point. Like it was, dude. Like, I mean, just the live events themselves. Every night was sold out. I mean, we're talking, 10, 20,000 people every single night. And there'd be 2,000 people waiting out at the loading docks just watching you get out of your car. It was such a crazy time. And I was talking to Jericho about this recently. It's like you forget how crazy it was until sometimes you go back and you look at those videos. It's funny, just before we got on, man, I was like, saw it was Lisa Marie's birthday today, and I knew, we have a bunch of videos. She used to dance with us, the Too Cool Rikishi, and so I was trying to find some stuff, and just like, going through stuff and seeing the way the crowd was. It was just in such an insane time. So, I mean, really that whole year. So I don't know if I could like pinpoint one thing. I mean, I think that Royal Rumble moment was pretty cool. I think that's something that always seems to surface, like on Twitter and stuff. People tagging me in, like that, and the Malenko DDT from Backlash off the top rope. But I don't know if that was a high point. But it just, I don't know. Like I say, my career peaked at the peak of professional wrestling. Like I know they're making more money now apparently, but is it? I don't. It's definitely not. To me, it's not hotter, and I don't think anybody would go, "Oh, wrestling's hotter now than it was in 2000." It's just they're more like worldwide, and there's more avenues. Right? Yeah, they're making more money, right? But to be a part of that time, with Austin and Rock, and at the peak of their careers, and Undertaker, DX, like, geez, I mean, Godfather, Funaki, Kaientai, Hollies, like Hardy's, Edge, like, dude, like, it's crazy. It is crazy to think about, like, how hot that period was. It was like everybody was hot. Like everybody that walked through that curtain was red hot. It was such a crazy time. So I think just say like that whole year in general it's kind of a blur. Like that's another thing that people go, what's your regret, or what's your number one advice? Is like keep a journal and take lots of photos, because you're going to wish you had both, 20 years from now. Even now I go, man, I should and I know there's apps, like journal apps, where I could just do it all on my phone. Like, hey, I was here this day, and I went here for lunch and had this match with this guy. And like, I don't care about a win-loss thing, but I would love to go, hey, I wrestled Edge and Christian in Boise, Idaho in 1998. And, we did this, or, and I can remember Edge used to always, like, for a while we roomed together, when he first came in, and he would always write in his journal. We got to the room, and, now he's come out with these books, like I wish I had stuff to go back on and just kind of refresh my memory. Because, dude, it's when you're wrestling that much or traveling that much, it all just becomes a blur. So.
Very true. Now, got to mention ISPWwrestling.com, of course, the 18th of February, Friday, at the St. Anthony's Church Gym in Butler, New Jersey. You'll be there 3 to 5 for a seminar, and then later on that evening for the main event.
Yes.
So very, very, very cool. Again, give us all the plugs and everything you're going to be, and your social media and all that other good stuff.
Yeah, everything. So Instagram and Twitter are now, it went from the Scotty to Hotty to the Scott Garland. And then Facebook is still Scotty to Hotty, but WWE is in the process of changing everything over. So I think they've submitted everything. So eventually everything will be Scott Garland. I figure, it's like, I don't know what name I'm going to use or be able to use or whatnot. So I figured just better off to just go with my real name. Nobody can take that from me. And, going forward, who knows what I'll do outside of wrestling. So it's just safer to just go with my, and, the fans it's a different time. Like they know everybody's real name now, and there's nothing wrong with being that. And, there were thoughts of like, do I go back to Scott Taylor? I do own that. Like, but I mean, for the minimal amount of people that know that, like, I know the diehards know that, but Like it's not really it's not a flashy name. It's just kind of a basicness. I just decided to go back to Garland and just make it that, so.
Nice. Sounds good, Scotty.
Yeah, but
Thank you so much.
thank you, man. Everything's on my Instagram. I try to keep all that stuff up to date. And like I said, I've realized what an important tool it is. So Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, I try to blast everything out on all three. So, but thanks, dude. It was really good talking with you.
Yeah, it's awesome talking to you. Finally, be able to get you on. Great stuff.
Yeah,
But thank you
yeah.
so much for all the time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, John.